Good evening. This is CJ with the GOAT Sports Talk. Of course, talking about the World Cup clinching that has occurred. As we know, there's a few teams that did not make it that are among the surprises that we'll talk about. But pretty much, if you want to know what's going to be going on next summer in Russia, 2018, the World Cup, of course, is the automatic qualifying bid for Russia. So they'll be in there trying to field the team. Not many times does a host country win the World Cup, but they tend to do, a lot better than average as far as, when they have their World Cup. I believe maybe it might have been, I think it might have been France that may have won it. I don't remember if if they either won the Euro or they won the World Cup in the same country. But as far as with this, as we know, the last few have been kind of in different places, and the World Cup has been won. I know that Germany won the World Cup. Of course, we know. I believe that was in Brazil. Then you had, of course, in Spain. For Spain, they won in South Africa. So you go further back, and you kind of see that it tends to be, teams that are not even from sometimes even the same continent. But as far as with this, the list of teams here, nothing really probably sticks out as like the usual suspects as far as what you see. But I would say this, that for this particular coming up World Cup, you do have a couple of teams that could possibly win it that have not been considered amongst the top, as far as in the last 20 years. And that would be, Belgium. Belgium has a very, very good team this year. Another team that could also sneak up, I know that they always seem to be overhyped, but England. England has a lot of young talent. They have some experience as well. And, you never know. This could be a year that they could maybe make some noise. Okay. Now, they don't have as much of probably like some of the marquee players, but they do have some decent talent and decent depth. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for them, because they always seem to be overrated in every World Cup. Even though at times they've put together some very good players, I think that one of the things with England football, especially with the Premier League, is that it's not as dynamic as some of the other leagues, especially La Liga. So I think that, with some of their younger talent coming up and being able to play in those younger, under 17s and do very well, and then coming into, the actual World Cup squad level, I think that will eventually pay dividends for them moving forward, because they do have a very good young under 17, youth squad going on right now. So I think that that's going to be a very good thing for their future, but they're definitely not among the favorites. Let's talk about some of, possibly the surprises that are on here. For one, Iceland. Iceland really sticks out as a team that's on here. That's basically like, wow, they actually, made it. Now, a lot of these other teams, they've been in World Cups in the past. Peru doesn't make it often because it's very hard to get out of the group in the Americas, especially in South America. So for them to make it is actually, a very big thing for them. Of course, we've seen, a lot of these teams, your usual suspects, and this is probably, almost every World Cup is like almost your usual suspects. Whether they win or not, they always seem to be in it. England, Germany, Spain, Portugal, France. Croatia's been in a few of them. Then Brazil, of course. Uruguay even makes them. Everyone, makes them. But Brazil is almost always in the World Cup. Argentina is almost always in the World Cup. Mexico is almost always in the World Cup. The past few, of course, Australia, Nigeria seems to always be in the World Cup. Then Egypt tends to be in the World Cup too. Senegal, here or there. I remember they had El Hadj Diouf back in the day, who won World Football Player of the Year. I don't remember if they were in the World Cup in 2006, but definitely in 2002 they were in the World Cup. And then, of course, South Korea and Japan are usually in the World Cup. And those could be sleeper teams. Japan actually does have some decent talent. And so you never know what can happen. I think that when you're talking about teams that could probably make it to that Final Four, that are teams to probably watch, and we'll probably go over, the talent of some of these teams to kind of give a better in-depth focus on what we were dealing with, so that way, we kind of really keep track of the things that are going on all the way leading up to the World Cup. But for the Final Four, there's a lot of teams that could possibly make it into that Final Four, and from there anything can happen. Now, as of right now, to me, the best team that's I believe that has a good chance at, I would say the early favorite. Let's just put it that way. The early favorite right now, I know, in my opinion, I know people would want to say Germany. I would say it's Brazil, because for one, the last World Cup team that Brazil had, and some of the teams that they had in the past, as far as recently, since the Ronaldinho years and the Ronaldo years, and the I would say to a certain degree the Kaká years, they were not as talented as this particular squad, especially up front. And I always would say with Brazil, they always have very good dynamic talent in terms of skill, and their back is usually pretty strong. Their back four is usually pretty strong, but what happens is sometimes they lose. They don't get that world-class striker all the time. Robinho was good, but he was more of an attacking midfielder. He wasn't really a true striker. Kaká was kind of getting up there in age. He wasn't really the same player he was when he was younger. I'm referring to the past World Cups, but now you got a world-class elite striker in Neymar, who is easily one of the top 3 players in the world. And then you got De Jesus up front. So you got some actual, they got some, I'm telling you, a lot of people have been sleeping on Brazil as far as over here in the U.S. Of course, internationally, people know what's up. But I'm talking about they haven't had the same beautiful football, that they were playing before. And I think with this coming team, I think they want to bring that back. Of course, they didn't win the last World Cup. We know they went far, and meaning that a lot of people have been now looking at these European teams as the ones that's going to, be making it because of the dominance of Spain, and then of course with Germany winning. But I believe that that may not continue with the trend of those teams and their age. Some of the players, sometimes these World Cups are funny. Veteran teams can do very well, and sometimes they don't do as well as these younger, hungrier teams. The last time you seen like really 2 older teams that was a slew of veterans across the board that made it to the World Cup finals would be when France and Italy played against each other back in, was it 2000? I want to say it was 2006. So that was the last time you probably saw veteran teams really do well in the World Cup. But it's always like that mid-range. You have very good young talent and guys that are in their prime, and then you might have 1 or 2 wily veterans that are in there that kind of keep things steady. What I like with this list is that for the most part, you have a good balance of teams, and the good thing is there's no true favorite. It's not so like, oh man, it's like nobody can beat this team. These teams, for the most part, except a few, are beatable, and I think there will be some surprises in this. Now, I'll say this. Let's talk about the 3 teams that didn't make it, okay, that I am not seeing on this list. One is the United States. Another one is, of course, the Netherlands. And, of course, the shocker of the past few days was Italy not making it. And I think that is going to be, that just makes the World Cup seem kind of weird, The orange not there. Everybody loves seeing their fans out there. The United States, everybody loves trolling the United States because they're not really good at the sport. Italy is always just a team that just seems to be a favorite or amongst the top 4 favorite teams in any given World Cup because they just usually have, such a good, across the board talent. They always usually have a very strong defense with a good goalkeeper. Of course, with Gianluigi Buffon. being probably one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, probably the best goalkeeper of the last 25 years. So right now, that's pretty much it. We're just going to kind of keep it the way it is. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think are your favorites. And, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.